Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Jane Magnolia. This is Jane Magnolia. This is one of the National Arboretum hybrids. There are 8 girl names in this series. These were introduced back in the 1950s. This is Jane. Jane is a moderate grower. It can be single trunked. You'll sometimes see them single trunked, or more often than that, you'll see as a multi-trunk shrub. Really has really beautiful gray bark, and then a leathery green leaf once it leaves out in the spring. And as you can see, before it leaves out, this beautiful floral display. These hybrid magnolias actually bloom about 2 weeks later than a lot of the other deciduous magnolias, which makes them slightly less likely to get late frost damage. You know, they still bloom way early. This is in mid-March when we're filming this. Gets a really nice kind of yellow russet fall color on it. This one can reach, I mean, it's maintainable at about 15 feet in height, maybe 10 feet in width, but definitely can get larger than that. It'll race up to 15 feet over, a 10-year period or something like that, and then tends to slow down a bit after that, but easily maintainable around 15 feet in height. I love plants with anticipation, and this is one of those. Get these fuzzy gray flower buds early, during the fall, which stay on it all winter long, and then they increase in size as soon as the soil temperature starts to warm up, as soon as the days get a little bit longer. And then it forms almost a magenta color bud, and then as it opens, that magenta color fades to like a pink on the outside, a pinkish purple on the outside, and white on the inside. This series of 8 has purples and pinks and whites and various colors. They are fragrant, not as fragrant as some of the other deciduous magnolias, but you'll know it's there. Fragrant without overwhelming you is what I would say. On a more mature plant, these flowers can be between 4 and 8 inches in width. This is a newer planted shrub. It was actually just planted in the fall, so it's the flowers are a bit smaller on it. These are hardy in zone 4 to 8. Some people even say 3. So most people watching this can grow these. Best in full sun. They will take some shade, but expect them to stretch a bit and probably have a few less flowers. But out here in the full sun, they just absolutely thrive. So this is a tree or a very large shrub. So in terms of landscape uses, it's probably going to go out on the edge of your property. Would be a great piece in a mixed border or in front of an evergreen screen, or just as a single specimen. That's typically where you'll see these mostly, is planted out as a single specimen, and then other beds kind of worked around it. The Jane Magnolia would be the star of the show. These are very tolerant of lots of different soil types, as long as it's well drained. Slightly moist, well drained soil is kind of perfect. They do become very drought tolerant over time. An established Jane Magnolia here, where we get regular rainfall, is going to need very little from you. They do have shallow roots, and so that's one thing I'd like to point out, is this is a plant you definitely want to keep it mulched, keep the weeds away from it and keep it well mulched, and that'll keep the roots cooler on it and relieve some of the summer stress. So this one was planted and I think maybe watered one time, and has been absolutely fine here. This is a landscape project we put in the fall, which everything is just kind of coming to life here in the early spring. It's a plant you can water for a couple of months, and then when it's abnormally dry after that, it gets itself established pretty quickly. We fertilize once a year with an organic fertilizer. That's pretty much all the fertilizing I do in a year. It really doesn't need a whole lot. Pruning, you can prune a crazy limb here or there. Occasionally I'll see on these deciduous magnolias, especially early on when they have so many branches coming up, maybe one of those dies, you can cut it to the ground. The main thing to look for, these don't respond all that well to hard pruning, so put it in an area you can let it get good size, and so that you don't have to be pruning on it. Any pruning you do on it, you do after it flowers, which is again late winter when that's happening. You will get, if you have a suckering plant, a colony like this one is, this is too many suckers down here. I want to grow this as a small specimen tree that has maybe five branches. Currently, this one has 10 or 12. So I'm going to go down in here and take out some of the weaker ones, and then also anything that's crossing. So look, this is an example. These two branches coming up the middle of this one are right on top of one another, and they're rubbing one another. One or the other of these needs to go and be cut all the way down to the ground. This is a very pest-resistant plant, really. I see some leaf spotting on them occasionally. Minor insect problems, really not anything to worry about. Again, as long as you're watering it when it's dry, keeping the area weed-free, keeping it mulched. Again, we fertilize once a year with an organic fertilizer, and this Jane Magnolia is just a really easy plant, and looks great year-round. It looks great with the flowers, looks great with the foliage, looks great with the gray bark in the winter. So, Jane Magnolia.